Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Situation Room. We're talking about, of course, the Pahalgam, and in the wake of that, the false propaganda that we've seen being put forward from the Indian side, and of course the world and the reaction that we've seen, where the kind of reaction that India was expecting seems to be amiss. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the proactive diplomacy that has come from the Pakistani side. If we look at the way that we've engaged those nations that to look at the evidence at this time, and of course the international inquiry, the offer of international inquiry by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, all of that today. I have with me Aniq, Zafar, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us today. Advocate Hafiz, Ahsaan, Ahmed, Khokar. Thank you so much for being with us. He's also a legal expert. We'll also be joined by Ahmed Hassan Arbi, who's a analyst and journalist, and we'll be talking to him. Hafiz, overall, in terms of, I want to talk a little bit about international organizations like the UN. We've also seen the Deputy PM, ask the permanent representative of the UN to convene a session of the UN as soon as possible, so Pakistan can update the UN on what we have against India, the kind of perpetration, the false flag operation, the way that it came about, the way, the subsequent actions from the Indian side. But overall, the efficacy of UN as a body to regulate peace is something that recently the world has has seen is not as efficacious as one would like. Would you agree with that? We've also seen the Israel-Palestine situation.
Thank you so much. First of all, I must give a credit to the government of Pakistan, their diplomacy, and on the military side by Pakistan Army, Navy, Air Force, and on media side by all the media houses in Pakistan. They have made such a wonderful response to India for the last 10 days. Now the India has been on weakened side. They can't face our military strategy, they can't face our diplomatic strategy, and even they have badly failed to engage the world community in that particular case in a false flag operations. And for the last 10 days, if we analyze about the role of the international countries, on each and every country, I must say they have not sided with India in this particular cases, when Pakistan has actively started its diplomacy and has said that we like to have a neutral or independent investigation of this case. So in that particular case, if you see in the role of the world, the different countries, especially the European Union and the Islamic countries, they are with Pakistan, and they have sent their special messages to Pakistan, especially China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE and Turkey. On the second side, if you see, now there is a consistent stance of India about the modification of Inter-Waters Treaty. This is not the first time when there is a false flag thing made in the attack on the parliament in 2001 and 2002. The first time attempted to speak the modification of the Indus-Water Treaty. Then after the Bombay attack 2010, another false flag operation, and then they again came on the point the modifications of Indus-Water Treaty. Third time in Uri attack, and then Pulwama attack, and then to 2022 and 23 they sent a formal notice to government of Pakistan regarding the modification. And if you see, analyze on this side, now India is very much clear that they can't beat Pakistan on military side. So they using the water as a weapon to control the Pakistan strategic issues, especially the land where the 90% of the land depending upon the industry, water rivers, the Jhelum, Chenab and the river Sindh. So when we talk about the role of the World Bank was there, it is a tri-party agreement. Pakistan a very good legal standing on it. This is the agreement, the treaty which you can't revoke, you can't suspend, you can't modify on it, and there are multiple forums available for Pakistan in this particular situation. One about the Indus Water Treaty, and the second is the international water laws. The 97, you can't stop the downstream countries about these waters. And I am quoting certain United Nations Charter, the Article 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 33, 36, and then there is a United Nations Security Council Resolution General Assembly 63, 124, 68, 157, 262, and 265. So all, I mean, these are supporting the case of Pakistan if Pakistan will go to the World Bank. So I think, say, on the diplomatic side, the government and all the, I mean, the related institutions have performed very well. And on the other side, now this is a time. Now the first time the Pakistan in last 10 days has asked his representative in the United Nations, I mean, to have a hold a session of the United Nations Security Council, and definitely Pakistan will brief. And when Pakistan put a stand on it that we have nothing to do with this incident, I mean, within 10 minutes they, I mean, registered an FIR, they blamed Pakistan's, and simultaneously all the media within 30 minutes, I mean, they blamed Pakistan and they started campaigning against Pakistan. So all is not supporting at this time in India, and now they are realizing at this time how, I mean, they can revoke or they can back to their positions, because they have exaggerated and they made their media in a way that the hostility of their own people. So I must say on two things. One thing is that for the last 10 days, the role of the inter-community is a very, very, I mean, cautious, and they support Pakistan's stance about their investigation. And the second phase will be started when the Pakistan will go for the UN Security Council meeting. Definitely there would be a declaration on it, and then the international community will be engaged on it.
Let me come back to you on that point. I think you're very right. We have with us right now Ahmed Hassan Al-Arbi. Can you hear me, Ahmed Sahab?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Overall, in terms of what the situation is at this time, we are talking about the efficacy of the UN and the fact that, you know, of course, Pakistan wants to call the UN session at the earliest to put forward our case, and of course the fact that we've asked for, an inquiry into this, and an independent inquiry, to which we have not seen a credible response from the Indian side. Do you see this? Do you see a response from the UN? What is your opinion on that?
Thank you so much. First of all, to answer your question, we have to understand the order of the world in which we are existing at the moment. And in the past 3 to 4 years, that order has changed substantially. In fact, there are thinkers, there are philosophers, there are ideologues, there are international relation experts who believe that the world order that was there in place in the past 70 years, especially after the World War II and at the establishment of the United Nations and these neoliberal global institutes, they believe that the world order that was established at that time has practically collapsed. And with the collapse of that political order, a new world order is about to unfold. And the birth of this new world order is a bloody process. As Condoleezza Rice once put it about the Middle East, that there is a new civilization that is being built inside the Middle East, and the birth pangs of that civilization are very bloody. So the thinkers believe that the international order has collapsed and the new international order is about to unfold in the world. And this is what you are seeing, that UNO and the international law practically does not exist the way it used to exist almost a decade ago. If UNO had the influence or the power that it used to enjoy almost a decade ago, there are a lot of issues in the world which would have been solved years ago. For example, what is happening in Gaza, what is happening in Palestine, what is happening in Ukraine, which brings the world an inch closer to World War III or a nuclear holocaust, all of this is happening right under the nose of United Nations. And because the international order has collapsed, now the changing international order is the neo-realistic international order. We are done with the neoliberal world order. We have ushered into neo-realistic world order where power is power. The strength of hard power is what that makes you negotiate.
So essentially you're saying that we are now functioning under might is right, and it doesn't, it's essentially what the world must become accustomed to?
The world has been functioning on the principle, the international order has been functioning on the principle of might is right for the past 5,000 years. It was after the World War II that an artificial system was created, which is called the neoliberal world order. The international world order, if you read Machiavelli, you read Morgenthau, you read every other international relation expert, you'll find out the same analysis of the international order. Now, the thing is, that we are back to the very basic. The world order has always been brutal. International diplomacy has always been, barbaric. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Your feelings, your emotion, the definition of right and wrong does not exist in the international order, in international relations or in diplomacy. It's all about interest and how powerfully you can protect your own interest, your will, your narrative, your perception. Now, the world is taking Pakistan seriously in this recent India Pakistan scenario. There's only one reason, because we have shown to the world that we are willing to do whatever it takes to protect our territorial integrity and our dignity. And we will not allow India this time to call us a terrorist state, to blame us and get away with it. We are going to deal with India in the same coin and in the same language, because when we have shown the resolve as a nuclear power that we are willing to do whatever it takes to protect Pakistan's interest, you left the world with no other option but to take you seriously. Because in diplomacy,
do you think that India was, like you said, that we have for a while seen how India has been functioning under, of course, that the order of might is right, and of course they've been using their clout, they've been flaunting their position in the world politics. Do you think that this itself has caused them a bump in the road, because they haven't been able to do that? They haven't been able to put their case forward credibly this time. The world is asking questions, the international press is asking questions, like you said, perhaps because of our resolve, perhaps because we have said put our foot down. But do you think that now is the time for India to perhaps take a step back now, because they haven't been able to corroborate all that they've put forward?
See, the stance that Pakistan has taken, the way we are fighting this case, the way we have backed our diplomatic claims by hard power, is something that India wasn't expecting. And India has been exploiting this vacuum for the past 3 to 4 to 5 years, especially after the revocation of 370 and 35A. The response that Pakistan has built this time has put India on a back foot. And frankly, because when Pakistan decides to project its power into the world, outside the borders of Pakistan, let it be diplomatic borders or geopolitical borders or kinetic border or diplomatic borders, or information for that matter, you have seen the information campaign, the information war that Pakistanis are fighting in the past 7 days. It actually has put India on the back foot. So India wasn't expecting this offensive for Pakistan, but Pakistanis have realized in the last 7 to 8 days, Pakistani policymakers and the people who matter in the policy realm have realized that the best way to defend yourself is strategic offense. If you have to fight a war, I'm not talking about the kinetic war, but all other kinds of war, let it be economic or information warfare or diplomatic warfare. If you have to fight a war, if a war is imposed upon you, it is always better to fight it in your enemy's territory. So we have taken the war to India, which has put India on the back foot. And frankly, the Indians have not become stable. I mean, they still are shaky. You can see the resignation within the Indian army. You can see the resignation within the Indian Foreign Office. You can clearly see the panic. They were not expecting, and this strategic offense of Pakistan have actually brought us respect, honor, dignity, and entire world, especially the Muslim world, China, even Russia, United States of America for that matter as well, is backing the narrative that Pakistan is towing.
Right, fair enough. Please stay with us. I'll come back to you. Aniq sahab, you heard what Ahmed Hassan is talking about. Overall, in terms of the situation at this time, do you think, whether we look at UN, whether we look at the overall situation, in terms of preparedness, there have been issues with the Indian Army also. Recently we saw there's been a lot of exposure with their faulty equipment, their ability to engage us, and of course the fact that we have a battle-hardened army, all of those realities. Do you think that this was a hasty, what it looks like now, and I think a lot of people their own people are questioning it, it looks like a hasty cooked up operation which they don't have backing for at this time?
Definitely, Mahrukh, it is now very much the fallout of that action speaks for itself.
Right.
Number one, the expectation of India and its policymakers that Pakistan will fold up quickly, will sort of besiege and back them, for pardon or something. That's not going to happen. Similarly, their expectation that they can perhaps go with some surgical strikes, some limited scales insurrections within Pakistan, those are not happening. And as Ahmed Hassan very correctly pointed out, because we, from the day one, we were very clear in our strategy. Look, we only had to have only one Security Council meeting, and after that we did not need to do any meeting, because all our decisions were taken on that table. There was complete strategic, diplomatic, political clarity that this is the way we are going to respond. For India, the problem is that they have no clarity. They had hoped that like Balakot, they could do some theatrics and then sell it to their domestic audience.
Based on their
grip on what is called Godi media within India. We don't call it Godi media. It is Indian people who call it Godi media, because it falls in line, hook, line and sinker with the state Mr. Modi's agenda or Indabta agenda. And the second thing which is very important is that India, since Modi's coming into power since 1914-15, has been trying to build itself as a major global power, which it is not. Its problem is that even its allies in the West, traditional friends, European Union or US, or even Russia, the ages-old ally of India, they do not look at it as a world power. And that is an irritation which builds within the system. And that is why they have to flex their muscles every few years with Pakistan to show that we are a power, right? But Pakistan is not letting them
get away with
it. So now for them the challenge is that on one hand they want that they should be considered by other global powers as a counterweight to China, but here the situation is that they cannot even deal with Pakistan in that manner which they think they should be dealing. So every few years they just grind their teeth, thump their chests, and then just relax. I think the time period where that chest thumping and grinding teeth is now coming to an end, and I am seeing pattern now that they are coming to a realization that this is not going to happen. Of course, they will be looking at some other diplomatic measures like writing a letter to IMF, creating some noise on IWT. Like my friend here explained that IWT is not that easy. We have many options available. Again, when you are trying to assert yourself as a global power, then these are the things you try to do and tell the world that we can get away with it. But again, I think it is very clear that Pakistan is not going to let them get away with it.
Hafiz sahab, I think that Aniq sahab has summed it up very well. We were not going to let them get away with it. But the question is, in terms of lobbying, in terms of holding key positions in the world, they've of course banked on all of those things when staging a false flag operation. One position in the world that perhaps has been overestimated by them, but also how they engage lobbyists and they the kind of diplomacy that they are under in practice of. Do you think that we are countering it with enough proactive diplomacy at this time?
Mahrukh, this is the first time when there is a strong resolve by the government of Pakistan and by the military of Pakistan that now there will be no strategy inside Pakistan to fight with India, and there will be fighting inside India, not in Pakistan. So there is a major shift from Pakistani sides. There is no doubt that from 2019 to onward, India has realized that they can't directly fight with Pakistan. So they have opted different strategies. First strategy is isolate Pakistan international community, pressurize Pakistan to surrender their, the position and stance of Kashmir, and then modification of the Indus Water Treaty and being used as a water strategic point against the Pakistan. But now this is the first time that all has been what India is doing for the last 10 days. They were not expecting for them that there was a serious response from Pakistan. Now the Pakistan is very much clear on that. First time the Pakistan has engaged the international community by rebutting their stances that we have no involvement in Pahalgam. You can go for the international neutral investigation. So this is a very, very defensive point of view for India. For the last 10 days, even they not been able to present a single fact about these facts which involve Pakistan, and they are not accepting the proposals of the Pakistan. Number 2 point is that strategically from the region point of view, the China is with Pakistan. So the China has provided every assistance to Pakistan, which India has realized that might be if they attack on Pakistan, and the Pakistan will not be on the side on the defensive side. When they will go for the offensive side, might be China, from the sister state, they can invade, or they can use some military position on their side.
But they also exposed themselves against the Chinese, if you remember, in an
definitely, Mahrukh, militarily, India can't fight with China. India can't fight with Pakistan. Numerically might be on the certain areas the Indian army has a more strength in army or the air force, but on the technology side we are far superior, and we have seen for the last 3-4 days they came with Rafale, and we have stopped, and they went back to them. So now the international community has realized that the Pakistan has been blaming by the India for the last many decades, and they present Pakistan as a terrorist state. They present Pakistan, they sponsored it. The main issue is the Kashmir. India now come on the table, and now the army chief of Pakistan has rightly said 2 weeks back that the Kashmir is a jugular vein of the Pakistan, and he has just reiterated the words of the Qaeda-e-Azam, which he spoke the 70 years before. So now the more important thing would be, this is not the end day. The first step would be Pakistan after this to engage the international community, isolate India in the international forums, and the loose ball which has given by the India on the Indus Water Treaty. It is not a bilateral treaty. It is a trilateral treaty. World Bank is a signatory. 9 years have been effort by the World Bank to reach this agreement, signed by two head of states of there. Multiple forums are there. ICJ is there. World Bank is there. UN Security Council is there, and even not a single country is buying the argument of India on the Indus Water Treaty that they can stop, they can divert, and rightly the Defense Committee of Pakistan is saying that if you divert, and if you stop the water of the Indus Water Treaty as per the international treaty, it will be an act of war. So this is another strategy which really disturb the Modi, the army, and you have seen on it the multiple, the documents they came on the social media, how these were the false flag operation, how the Indian ministers, how the army, there is an internal disturbance over there. So I must say this is the first time the government of Pakistan has made a very good strategy, and we have been for the last many years on the defensive side. Now this is the time we have made offensive side, and that the sheikhs, and that was not expecting for the India, and now they are looking for something else, and might be if they will come to Pakistan like 2-3 earlier wrong surgical strikes, they will have a very big lesson, because the Pakistan is saying don't test us. If you test us, then it is our choice that how long we will take in the war, and what are your positions, and how long we will go on it. So that really disturbs the India, because we are nuclear states, and we are clearly saying that we can use everything, every weapon for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Pakistan, and that stance is backed by all the Muslim countries and all the natural allies, especially the China and Turkey. They are there.
Let me come back to you. Ahmed, overall, in terms of what the situation is at this time in India, when we look at their threat as far as IMF is concerned, as far as FATF is concerned, there are a lot of loopholes with regard to that. Do you think it's a lot of hyperbole, it's a lot of again rhetoric, it's a lot of threatening and posturing that always invariably comes from the Indian side?
See, There, about the world, the history of the world, it is said that in the 5,000-year-old history, there are 14,700 wars that has been fought. And there is only one thing that is certain in the international order, and that is the possibility of a war, a conflict. So, in diplomacy, there is only one reason why you go for diplomacy and engagement and talks and discussions and this United Nations and IMF and World Bank. You go there for one reason. You do diplomacy for only one reason, and that reason is to avoid war. So a threat of war has to be there for the aggressor. Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about India, when you're talking about Kashmir, the threat of war, the establishment of the fact that Kashmir is our red line, Kashmir is our jugular vein, and we are not going to compromise an inch, and we are going to do whatever we can in order to protect our claim on Kashmir and the waters that are flowing from Kashmir. This is something that is going to make our diplomacy prudent, powerful. And about India's rhetoric about the IMF and this chest thumping, Indians understand the world order. They know that this international diplomacy is about perception, and they have tried to make this perception for the past 20 years. They have invested in it. That network which was there in European Union, which used to propagate propaganda against Pakistan, was established by the Indian intelligence agency RAW. The whole reason was to create a perception against Pakistan, and then their hyperbolic, jingoistic, grandiose concept of Akhand Bharat and the government of Narendra Modi would couple in and put Pakistan on the back foot diplomatically. But the things have changed in the past 1 week, because the Pakistanis have also realized now that the offensive defense is the only option that we are going to take. And this is the reason why India's hyperbolic, hyperventilated rhetoric is fading down and fading away, because there is a saying that propaganda has to be 20% lie and 80% truth. This is how propaganda functions in diplomacy, even. But the Indian propaganda is perhaps the only propaganda in the world that is 100% lie. There is no foundation, there is no practical existence of the claims that Indians are making in their propaganda machinery. There is there's no practical implication of that propaganda on the ground. There is no reality that exists. There is no foundation. So when Pakistanis have aggressively countered the Indian narrative, the Indians, they are still in panic. And that is the reason why in their panic, because they only know one thing, and that is to do more and more propaganda without understanding the situation in which they are actually limited to their own to their own suicides that they have been committing for the past 8 to 10 years. So yes, when you talk about the Indian hyperbolic, Indian hyperventilated response, actually it does not matter, because Pakistan is have actually taken the bull by the horns. And if we continue to do it, then the Indian propaganda will eventually have to fade away.
What about the lobbying that invariably follows any such incident that they bank on?
See, Indians, right. So the problem is that as I said earlier, that you have to have a military backing, you have to have a military posture, you have to have a clarity of thought, and your tactics you have to make the world believe what are your red lines and how far you are going to go in order to protect it. Pakistan has frankly, honestly established it. Now, Indians are going for the lobbying firms. They are going to cause a little noise in UNO. They are going to cause a little noise everywhere in every platform that they have. But if now Pakistani's diplomacy is now fully backed by the military posture. If we go out there, if we challenge the narrative of the Indians with a powerful counter narrative, actually Indians does not stand a chance. Let it be UNO or within American power corridors, or within the Western power corridors, for that matter, with China or even with Russia. Now it is up to the diplomats of Pakistan that how much confidence they have in order to deal with this kind of situation. The things that they need, the impetus that they need, the force that they need has been provided by the aggressive posture of Pakistan army. It is now up to the Foreign Office to build upon it, and I am hopeful that they are going to do that.
Right. Thank you so much, Hassan Al-Arabi. Thank you for your time. Overall, as far as the situation at this time is concerned, Hafiz Saab, we want to, of course, put our case in front of the world. We've done so also as far as international press is concerned. In fact, taking journalists to the LOC and showing them what the situation is there. As far as the Kashmir dispute itself is concerned, do you think this also will underscore the importance of resolution, that the world has consistently looked the other way as far as Kashmir is concerned? And of course, you know, this kind of a conflict highlights the potentiality of escalation between two nuclear states.
Mahrukh, this is the first time Pakistan has made another strategic decision, and the strategic decision is the suspension of the Shimla Agreement 1972, because India has always been taking Shimla Agreement as a tool to avoid from the UN resolutions 1947, 1948 and onwards from 1951, and they are saying it is a bilateral issue between Pakistan and India. Now the Pakistan has first time since 1972 has said that we are going to suspend the Shimla Agreement, meaning thereby India and Pakistan is no more in the bilateral issues with Kashmir. Now it is an international issue, and India has to accept the United Nations Security Council's resolution, number one. Number two, the first time the Pakistan has always been on the deterrent side, that we will only use our forces and we will use the nuclear for the deterrence point of view. The first time the Pakistan has said that certain lines are our red lines. Number one, territorial integrity. Number two, the territorial sovereignty. Number three, Indus water is our red line. Number four is the Kashmir as red line. So these are the four core issues where the first time the Pakistani government and especially the policy makers, including the Pakistani army, has made a shift on that. And that is not, I mean, even the imaginable for the India that the Pakistan can do on this point of view. We have a history that every time India is using the media, and you talk about the lobbying, and we had seen the European Union info disinformation lab by the Indians. I mean, they've been maligning the Pakistan on every forum. They show the Pakistan sponsoring the terrorism. They are showing the Pakistan is the terrorist state. This is, I mean, their stance. But now the first time the Pakistan, the diplomacy, the government of Pakistan and the people have resolved that what India has been doing for the last 20 years, it was false, it was not based on truth, and it was just with the purpose that to undermine, to let down the Pakistan and the sovereignty of the Pakistan. But now for the last 10 days we have seen on it that we have taken a stand, and that stance has been supported by the international community. And now you have seen the Pakistani Prime Minister has made a speech in Kabul, and they openly saying we are offering and we accept the international investigation
because we have nothing to hide.
And I mean, and they have closed the Prime Minister's speech on the YouTube channel. I mean, they approached the YouTube and they asked them to remove the speech of the Prime Minister. So, I mean, this shows their frustration. Now, the last 2-3 days, now the Indian media is now behaving in a different way. First time, they were the hawkish on this attack on Pakistan. Pakistan is a coward. Pakistan is a weak country. Now, what they are saying is now that technologically and international community is not supporting India. Even the United States has asked that, don't take this conflict into a region. And in other countries, they are saying, when Pakistan is saying that we are ready for the neutral investigation for this incident, why you are denying on this issue? Why you are saying on this? And second point of view, that when you, there is a terrorist attack, might be on, why you are going for the suspension of Indus Water Treaty? The objective...
Openly, they are moving towards escalation.
Mahrukh, the objective of this whole stance was to suspend or to control the Pakistan through termination of the Indus Water Treaty and to make a Pakistan in isolation. But Alhamdulillah, with all the efforts of the country and the policy makers, the government, the international community has realized now this is a time that the Pakistan should make a consistent stance on it.
And
to
become
the European
and
Union,
stay as
Islamic countries,
proactive as
UN, United Nations General Assembly, International Court, and now this is the time to engage the World Bank. I must say that the government of Pakistan should not write a letter under the Indus Water Treaty to India to call on the justification, but because this is not a matter of justification. The dispute resolution mechanism only is there when there is a technical issue over there. When the India is going for the termination, the only forum is go to the World Bank, ask them, you are the guarantor, you are the signatory, take the action diplomatically, internationally, and to back on it. And militarily, we are clear on it that if you divert, there will be an act of war, and that is allowed under the UN Charter.
I will come back to you, Aniq Saab, on this. I'm going to be taking a short break for Ahsaan, and then we'll come back and talk about how we see things unfolding for this kind of cook-up by India. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking about India's false flag operation and of course the kind of narrative that is being put forward, which India has failed to corroborate. It lacks consistency, it lacks coherence. We're talking about this, and what do we expect from the world at this point now that we've asked for an international inquiry and an independent one, and we've prepared to submit to it. As the Prime Minister said, we haven't gotten the kind of response that we would like, an adequate response to this kind of offer, which any self-respecting nation should have taken up. Aniq Saab, like I said, we haven't had a response. There is no, if they mean what they say, why have they not responded like any self-respecting nation to this offer of an independent inquiry? We've said that, we're willing
Mahrukh, I will go back to my earlier reference to them pretending to be global power. So that is their problem, that once you start pretending that you are a global power and you can throw your weight around, it becomes very difficult for you to sort of accommodate other point of view. So that is exactly what they are doing. And second thing is that they have always maintained that Pakistan, India's relationship and Kashmir, everything is bilateral. So there is no room for international arbitration. In this scenario, if they accept that there can be an international investigation, independent, neutral international investigation, then they are opening a floodgate of other interventions by international forums. That is what they want to avoid, because they want sort of a one-sided narrative, one-sided blame gaming. Everything is one-sided. So this is their strategy. So they will not agree to an independent investigation, because given in an independent international investigation, you have to open up so many things, and they definitely have a few things they want to hide. On the other hand, we are pretty clear that in this operation, at least, even if I do not go to other operations in the past, other incidents in the past, in this specific incident, because I have spoken to numerous international observers and analysts, and they cannot find a single strategic objective for Pakistan to do this. There is no strategic objective which Pakistan gains through such an operation at this moment.
Right.
So Pakistan does not need to hide anything. That is why Pakistan is openly offering. The other day, the Foreign Minister of Switzerland was talking to our Prime Minister, Mr. Khokar, and he also offered. Now, Switzerland generally is considered a neutral country. Yes. So he also offered that that Switzerland is ready to lead this investigation. But there has been no response from India. Again, because their pretension, one, that they are a global power. They are not answerable to now they are not answerable to the global system, right? But again, this is miscalculation.
And the kind of a response that they were expecting from global powers is also not come.
That is why, because
So,
global powers do not accept India as a global power as yet.
right, fair enough. Thank you so much for being with us.
One line,
Ji.
Mahrukh, I will add. Now, India in the subcontinent is in isolation. Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, every country has a distance from the India. Now, the second point must be that if we see that the Indus Water Treaty is a red line, and Pakistan is now suspending the Shimla Agreement. Now, the Pakistan must go to the United Nations, implement the UN security resolutions, because the core issue between the Pakistan, in addition to many other, is the Kashmir. And now, now this is the time Pakistan must give a deadline to the India that if the dispute is not resolved under the UN resolutions, we have the multiple options. So this is the way to move on and to resolve this outstanding issue.
Right, fair enough. Thank you so much, Hafiz, Ahsaan, Ahmed, Khokar. Thank you for joining us today. Aniq, Zafar Saab, thank you for being with us today. Ahmed, Hassan and Arbi, thank you for joining us today. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. But overall, of course, India has shown by its own actions following this hastily cooked up false flag operation, their inability to corroborate any facts that they've put forward, their inability to respond adequately to the offer of an independent inquiry, their inability to put forward a coherent set of events for the world to see. And that is clearly being shown by the reaction that we've seen globally. The world is asking questions, their own people are asking questions, their own political parties are asking questions. Let's see if India can answer those. Thank you so much for joining us today.